What's up, Lou? We are
Oh,
back for another edition of the Lucky Trader Lounge, this time to chat about the week in NFTs. As our Friday show, do a little bit of recap, a little bit of information about some things that have come out here in the last, 24 hours or so as well. Did you have an active NFT week? Did you mint anything this week?
yeah, I did. Oh man, that's always such a tough question to I can barely look back 3 days, I feel like, at some of these things. But there was a lot of stuff that minted out that I also passed on. One thing that released last night, the Noundles are finally live with their game. So we'll probably be playing that. DeFi Kingdoms I've been playing this week. They had quests become live. The MFers and CloneX are probably the two main things that I actually minted this week, though.
Yeah, MFers. That was something that I tried to mint, but I was thinking about the content play and trying to get a little video up for folks about how to mint from contract. Actually, I think the website held up okay, right?
Yeah, it seemed like they had a relatively smooth drop. It's just a gas war. I have 4 right now, but all bought after the drop. I didn't have success at the drop. Well, I'd say I could have had success, but I wasn't trying to pay 0.4 or whatever it was coming out to. So I waited, and on secondary, I bought them at like 0.15, which, I mean, now they're like 0.2, right? So yes.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Have you replicated this meme in your actual life at all, Lou? Like, do you feel like from time to time?
Top one?
Well, I mean, just like this in general, right? Do you feel like you're leaning back in your chair?
Oh, yeah.
From time to time.
What was funny is the one that I got, I was like, that kind of looks like me. He had like a little beard. He had the headphones and like a blue shirt. And I was like, oh, I mean, I could see myself using that as like a profile picture. And I think one of the issues that they have with it is a lot of them just look so much alike. I mean, even those right up there at the top, like they all have a beard and long hair, and the two that have the, a lot of them just end up kind of looking alike. Like the difference is just one was gray and one was white, so I don't know if that's going to long term be too much of an issue. What do you think of these, like those one of ones? Those one of ones are kind of, I guess it's all about being memeable.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has a ton of memetic value. Danny, I see you've joined. Welcome. Did you follow the MFers this week? Did you see this?
Only from Lou. I only saw it from Lou, and he was excited. I saw D's change his profile picture to MFer. So
after D's did it, it seemed like a lot of people were following.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we have Alex joining here too. We were just talking about things that. What was that?
Today.
I can't hear Danny. He's all.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the audio, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, we were chatting about things that we had minted this week. Alex, did you mint anything?
Well, I got the pack merge thing yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that you also got it, right?
Yeah. I minted a few. I guess you can call it minting, but you purchased a few from pack. Yeah. So that was big for this week in particular as well.
Did they close that? Is that what I saw? I saw a lot of people saying that he made like $70 million already. I didn't know if that was a final number.
No, I think it's open for 48 hours, right? It's still open until December 4th.
December 4th, exactly.
Wow. Another full day.
So, yeah, another full day till December 4th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time is when this. I'm on the wrong tab here. I'm still on MFers. Sorry, whoops. I have turned back the hosting duties to Danny, so I'm rusty at present time, trying to get my fingers working and the appropriate way. Let me try to pull this back up on the screen. But this is still open until December 4th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. So what? We still have like 36 just less than 36 hours left in this, like 31 hours left of people to buy. The price has increased. I can bring my screen back in here. The price has increased to what? Where'd it go here? What is going on with my screen?
Resets.
$450 now, I believe. Where is it?
Which still, I mean,
450.
That's what, about 0.1 ETH. So it's not like that crazy high of a number yet.
Yeah.
250K. We're almost there. Danny was asking us yesterday if we thought it would hit 250K. It might do it by the end of the stream.
No, well, he asked if it was going to sell 1 million, right, Danny? You asked 1 million?
Yeah, we got some time left. Wait until the mainstream media picks up on this. How's the audio sound, by the way?
You're good now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
You're back. I'm going to turn over these duties to you in just one moment here,
Please.
Danny. But anyway, so this, you can see here, Lou, this closes in 1 hour, 23 minutes, 11 seconds. And then I believe that's when price will increase again. So price will increase $25 every 6 hours until the end of the event. So if you're looking to engage here on the merge project, the individual pieces called Mass by Murat Pak, 1 hour, 22 minutes, 50 seconds until you would have to pay $475 for each one. So I got at the very, very beginning. We talked about this last night. I got at the very beginning at 400 was I was not a pre-sale person, so I paid 400 per about two. Alex, were you a pre-sale person, or were you right at the beginning as well?
Yeah, I also bought them for 400, and I got two as well.
Cool. All right, Danny, all you, man.
Awesome. We're back to, we got the normal audio, normal video back again. And it's great to have Alex here on the stream. It's great to see you find folk as well. And it's good to finally for you guys to be able to see and hear me clearly as well. Let's start today with the Banksy fractionalization piece. I'm going to pull that up on my screen shortly, but did you guys get a chance to check that out? And if so, what do you guys think about that? Logan, I know you sent that to us. So
yeah. I read the piece that was actually pushed to me by another member of Lucky Trader earlier this morning. I think this is interesting. Lou, I mean, you may remember from way back in the beginning of this year, there was like a tiny thing on Rarible where somebody thought there might be Banksy actually minting stuff. Do you remember that?
Is that the stuff that it was him minting or him creating the stuff?
People thought that it was Banksy. And like, I think Pranksy spent like a bunch of money on it. And then there was this, I don't know. I don't think it was Banksy unless there's some story that comes out later. But anyway, this seems to be the real thing, right? They're fractionalizing a piece of Banksy's piece. Love is in the Air to 10,000 pieces. There we go again. Breaking it up into 10,000 despite, you can pick any arbitrary number.
Is that
you don't
the Shredder
have to
one?
10,000. I don't think so. Wasn't the Shredder one the one with the girl with the balloon?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not.
I get all of the Banksy pieces mixed up.
Yeah, but anyway, the cool thing here is 10,000 pieces just being broken up. You can own a particle. It's called particle, right? You can own a particle or a portion of it for, I think they said 1,500 USD, which is like 0.3-ish, 0.33 ETH. I think this is cool. My concern here, like we've talked about cash grabby type stuff. I don't know.
I think people want a piece of Banksy art, though. I think it's...
You can do this in other ways, too, though, right? Actually, like, I'm not entirely certain that the economics make a whole lot of sense here to do this, where, like, you could use, like, Masterworks, right? Or you could do... There are other outlets, potentially, to gaining access to fractionalized Banksys in other ways, I think. I don't know that the economics make total sense here, but you'd have, one or more pieces out of 10,000. The other thing, like I mentioned this morning, is after I read this was like, I think I would participate in this just to say that I owned a Banksy. like this is a conversation starter, right, Danny? I wouldn't necessarily be able to flash, right? We talk about social status and like the cool part about avatars or punks or whatever. I wouldn't be able to necessarily like flash this and say, hey, like what the hell? Look at my one particle of Banksy.
Just a white square.
Yeah, but it would be pretty cool as a conversation starter to say that you own a portion of a Banksy.
It could be interesting too if there's like if it's actually a piece from that work, then like instead of rarities, it's going to be something like, oh, that's like the head, like the face of the actual painting probably ends up reselling for more and stuff like that, which could be cool.
Pac did something like this earlier this year too, I think, where he built like a huge piece and then sold pieces to the huge piece. I think. I'm not sure how successful that project still is. I'd have to go back and look. I think everything Pac is like successful for the most part. Alex, do you own any other Pac stuff?
No, it was my first time buying anything Pac. Like honestly, I did it mainly for the hype. Usually I shouldn't do that, but like I was like, oh, people are buying. Let me just try and see what happens. I also wanted to try Nifty as well, which was surprisingly very like smooth. Like even just like the buy now is instant and not just like asking me a confirmation. I was very surprised by that. But
yeah, we talked a little bit about that last night about a potential onboarding vehicle there for like new people, right? Not only can you buy with credit card, but also to just the user interface. That's pros and cons to the centralization versus decentralization, but definitely something there. Yeah, Danny, I mean, you like to start conversations, right? That's what you do. Would you buy the Banksy to start conversations, or would you buy it for a different reason, or would you not buy it at all?
Well, it looks interesting to me. It would depend on the offer and what I particularly was getting and what connection I felt towards the piece itself. And so potentially, but what's the way in which people are going to be able to buy this?
I mean, I think it says it in the article there. It's via like the particle. I'm trying to scroll through as well. I skimmed it this morning as I was reading it. Well, as I wasn't reading it, as I was skimming it. Particle foundation, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't give us super clear. It compares itself to like Rally Road here, right? In terms of democratizing and decentralizing the potential access to this vehicle. An initial offering of Love is in the Air will begin on January 10th, run through January 14th, allowing collectors a chance to purchase a particle of the work for about $1,500. It doesn't say exactly how that will be the case, but it does make note that this will allow users to enter the secondary market across NFT platforms. So this is like, we were talking about last night, Nifty, you can do the exact same thing, right, Alex? Like if you wanted to move your piece from Nifty to your MetaMask, you can do so and then put it for sale on OpenSea. So it seems like you'll have this opportunity. That was like a little bit of concern with the whole Currency and Damien Hirst piece for a while, right? Was how the hell can I get this from like Palm to OpenSea? Of course, now I think most people have figured that all out, but it seems like they'll probably have the mechanics ironed out to allow for this to happen in somewhat of a seamless way. So it looks like, Danny, you can buy for around $1,500. They're probably using that about as a, 0.3 ETH is probably what they've settled on or something. So we'll see what that actually is. And then, you can throw it on OpenSea.
And you saw this and you were immediately like, I need to get one? Or it was like, we'll see what the mechanics are like. We'll wait. What was your first reaction?
We'll see what happens with the rest of the market. January 10th is a long time away for NFT market. I would like to participate. Yeah, why not? I go home and tell I don't know that my parents actually know. I was going to say I go home and tell my parents I own a Banksy, but like I don't think my parents know who Banksy is. Do you think people know who Banksy is though, right? Like Banksy's right?
He had that big documentary on him.
Yeah, I first heard of Banksy the past year because of NFTs and stuff.
Really?
And like in the art ecosystem, I never maybe, and it's really confusing too, right? Banksy and Pranksy. It's like,
well, that is weird and confusing if you're deep in the NFTs. But I think Banksy's like really well known, I think.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. I don't know. I live in this tiny bubble, and so I don't travel outside it that often.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's continue on where I'm sure there are a lot of Banksy pieces featured, which is at Art Basel, right? You got a lot of people. There's a lot of hype. It kind of reminds me of watching the NFT movement, watching NFT NYC, but not being involved in it. So, what's your guys' take? None of us are there at Art Basel, but what's your take on the ecosystem and how you're witnessing all of the NFT energy from the outside?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like that NFT NYC where I think there's a lot of similar people that went to it. There's obviously new projects that are out there now that are promoting, which I think that's cool. Just seeing now, one of the big ones down there right now is the Doodles. I think they had like a full day of events yesterday, and I don't know if they were even launched yet at the time of NFT NYC, or maybe they just launched. So I think it's good when they are doing this every few months and seeing different things. But a lot of like the community members are pretty similar, and they're coming back. So it's nice to see like same people that went to New York are also going down to Florida, and so um, I like the idea of it.
Yeah, I don't have too many strong opinions here. It seems like, as Lou mentioned, I think it seems like the energy is still there, which is a positive. But of course, not being there, it's really difficult to comment too much. I actually have not paid too much attention to the tweets and stuff about our Basel this week. It's just been a busy week here. We'll see how like the energy holds when maybe the market isn't as good or isn't as strong, right? So like there's a big NFT conference in Vegas in March. NFT Land is hosting and sponsoring. Hopefully we'll be in attendance there for that. Maybe Lucky Trader in some bigger capacity as well. We'll see what the energy's like. Like, you know, we still have end of year coming where people could be dumping stuff for tax losses, and who knows what's going to happen to the market overall. It will be interesting to monitor the energy at these events moving forward, I would say.
Yeah, I actually think it's a different vibe than NFT and OIC. Like, I actually wasn't at both, so this is my perspective from the outside. But I feel it's more, I mean, it's Art Basel, so I guess it's more artsy as well. Like, I feel that there's a lot more, people concentrate a lot more on the art, whereas I feel NFT and OIC, I know that there was like the Feywo, event that you went to, Logan, but I feel like NFT and OIC was more like events in a sense of like, it's the first time people are meeting each other, and there's like the conference as well, whereas like Miami, I feel it's just like we're just hanging out. There's a lot of artists out there, like Lou mentioned Doodles out there. There's also like Cool Cats doing a lot of like art events as well. I don't know, I just feel it's a different vibe. It's more artsy, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing it from the outside, and a lot of events outside I've noticed as well. And I'm it makes me excited to see the excitement in the air. And for that I'm grateful for the additional energy that is in the ecosystem. We got a question here from Sean George. Sean asking, how would you articulate at this point the value add that NFTs are for the world? Lou, you want to start with this one?
At this point,
No pressure, Lou.
I mean, they're a huge pop culture thing right now. They're just huge in pop culture, and I think they're I think I saw the word of the year is NFT. It seems like it's like 2021 is sort of being summarized by this movement, I guess you could say in a way, but just this term NFT. So I think it's in a lot of ways it's people forget about the whole inflation side of things and politics that are going on in the US right now, because they could be in crypto, and it's sort of an escape in that way. So I think their currently value add is sort of a way to forget about things in politics, and it's a new conversation starter.
Yeah, I would take a little bit of a different stance. I think it is a conversation starter for sure. I'm not sure that means or adds any value to the world. I think the value add right now, Sean, is we're like starting to unfurl and put together this new form of technology, or this new use of technology, in a way that allows, I say this like every time, but it's good to have new people on, that a way that allows for like the realigning of incentives in terms of business, in terms of art, in terms of culture, as Lou mentioned, whereby we can now use things like smart contracts and use things like non-fungible tokens to be able to financialize and incentivize IP in a way that connects creators with their collectors. We're like exploring a bunch of new stuff that allows for not the roll up of things to one particular central entity, but perhaps the dispersion of value throughout a whole host of active participants. And I know that seems really cryptic, but really the best way to kind of feel that is to get involved with some of these projects and explore some of what these projects are doing mechanically, to understand how that actually happens. One great example of it, I think, is ENS, right? And the airdrop that kind of came as a result of that. And there's plenty of other examples, but you're seeing, the ability for what feels like an organization, though now decentralized, what feels like an organization to actively reward its participants via, tokenization. And all that stuff kind of happens on top of blockchains and as a result of non-fungible tokens and smart contracts and all this stuff merging together. And so I think realistically, the value add NFTs are bringing to the world are, exploring this new technology in a new way to align incentives for all of those different things, IPs and brands and business and whatever. And I think it's really, really exciting. Lou has said many times, I think we talked about it last night, like you wish that NFTs weren't generalized to profile picture projects, right? Because that's what people think of when they think of NFTs. But I think people should think of the possibilities that extend far beyond profile picture projects. And that's what gets lost right now, because most of those possibilities are like the more complex things that have not yet been explored.
Alex, do you have anything to add to the value add from your perspective on what NFTs are for the entire world?
Yeah, I mean, I think Logan summarized it pretty well, but I would just add that I think it's the first time where communities are essential basically to any company going forward. And I think that's what NFTs unlock, is that like, if you are with NFTs and tokens as a whole, then communities are going to be an essential part of any community, of any company that wants to grow going forward, which means that like you have to listen to your community, but also like the community will gain, financial reward as well because of it. And I think that's like a huge change as well. It's not going to be, top down anymore. It's going to be more bottoms up. And I think that's like a huge change.
Absolutely. And Sean coming in here with another question, which is, would someone be able to comment on the digital ownership perspective? What owning things on the internet might birth? I mean, it really is a crazy concept, right?
Yeah.
You have this thing that we have had for my entire life, basically, is the internet. And we've never actually been able to own things on the internet. I mean, it's crazy. Like It's the most simplest form of NFTs, but it is crazy because there was something that existed. We would see things all the time, but no one could actually own it. So what might that lead to?
It's awesome. I dream it, right? Like you can almost do anything at this point in time, any type of content that you're creating, any, whether that be, written medium, photo, drawing, whatever, like all of those things can now be financialized and can now be tracked and verified, right? There's just so much potential here. And I don't even have the ideas, all of the ideas, of course. And I think we spent a lot of time on this show talking about most of the best uses of NFTs have not yet been even thought of or implemented anywhere near implemented, right? So like we are at the very ground floor, and we are very narrow and shallow in the breadth at which this technology potentially could, throw out there. So it'll be super interesting to see. I think realistically, like what Alex said, like this is birthing new ways to connect communities to and work things from bottom up as opposed to the other direction. And that's the broader spirit of like Web3 in general anyway, and the whole decentralization movement. Allowing people to kind of take some ownership and and gather some incentives on their own actions and their own investments. I think that's the greater spirit. And yeah, I have no clue what might come. I'm hopeful to be around to see it, and I hope it does extend beyond profile pictures. I think it will, of course, but
we had a question yesterday that we didn't cover in the Twitter Spaces, but it was about what your favorite NFT is. And I think exploring that question could help explore why we are all so passionate about this new industry. And why we feel part of communities themselves. So I'd love for us to go around the horn and just talk about our personal favorites and why that NFT holds such a dear place in your heart. Lou, you want to start?
I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna have a different answer, but I just think Bored Apes is just my favorite project because in the sense of what it's done for NFTs in general, and it's moved a lot of things forward. A lot of other projects were copying off of them, but in a way, like they've copied off of punks at the same time. But now we're seeing a lot of like celebrities. When celebrities are buying something right now, they're buying a Bored Ape. Like it's the one that's reaching out to the general mainstream. So to me, it's a community that started as people that were part of a Discord, and we're all buying into the same thing. And then the project leaders started creating for their community. And so that's where like this whole idea of community really came from, I think. And Bored Apes have been just such a strong community where so many people were immediately turning their profile pictures on Twitter to Bored Apes and the ape follow ape and all that sort of thing. So I feel like Bored Ape really summarizes this year in NFTs.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective because, yeah, I'm curious though, like, do you have a personal favorite yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I have a mutant. I don't have the Bored Ape. So I'm still like part of the community, but I guess my favorite, just out as far as like I'm gonna hold it. I mean, crypto kitties are always gonna have a place in my heart, I guess, just because they were like the first, and that's what. If I never bought a crypto kitty, I probably wouldn't have hopped on board onto some of these other things. So like you could also say like Top Shot is one of those too, where it's like it's hard for me to just completely sell out of it because to me it's like a memory, where it's like that's why I'm where I am today. That's why I'm part of Lucky Trader, because if I never bought a crypto kitty in 2018, I'd probably never be right here on this podcast. So I'd probably say crypto kitties, and it's just because of they were the firsts that I ever had. And I think a lot of people are attached and have sentimental value to like the first of things that they have.
Yeah, that makes sense. Logie, any favorites for you?
yeah. I mean, the FUO pieces are my favorite. Sean like adds a good clarification here. Favorite is in most likely to buy and make money, or like favorite. In this instance, I'm speaking purely favorite. Like the pieces from Ferocious, I just like legitimately like. I think the person and the personality I've become attached to, and is someone that I like want to root for. And I think when you find that, and like you can become a true fan of something, and like I mean, you guys all know this and experience this, and whatever you're fans of, right? Any way that you can be connected to that, and of course, the financial implications there are another connection or help aid making that connection even greater. And so that's important. But at the same time, getting to experience and watch this person like blow up, and then knowing I was there at sort of the beginning of it, and yeah, I don't know that. So Fiwo piece is definitely the favorite. I don't think they're the most likely for, at least in terms of like my bags. Maybe they're the piece that would hold the most value over time. I don't know that they will create the greatest reward potentially. I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully both, right? But I don't know. Like, actually, at the same time, I like kind of wish that it doesn't go up, because then you have the concerns of like, oh shit, do I have to consider selling this? Like if it gets too expensive, there's a point where you're talking about life-changing money, right? Like at what point do you possibly make that distinction that you have to actually sell, right? That's a hard thing, right? Like Danny, is there a point in time where I know you're emotionally attached to V Friends, right? And Gary V and that brand. Is there a point in time where like you have to sell, right? Like you have to.
Yeah, and I think about it like how Andy spoke about it to me on the podcast I did with him, and it's like the people in the community should be happy for you selling your bag, and you should be happy because you are part of this journey and you're no longer technically a part of it, but you still live those memories, and that'll never go away. And so I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to sell your bag of your favorite person or artist or community.
Yeah, because then you're also more likely to disperse those funds right back into the ecosystem, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe you buy a couple hundred books.
Maybe you buy a couple hundred
Yeah,
books,
same
Gary
idea.
Vee books.
Exactly. When
You're
in Rome.
insane, man.
Alex, do you have a favorite NFT?
Yeah, I think it definitely is my cool cat. I think it's also because like once I bought it, I changed it on Twitter, and that was like my first time I feel going from Web 2 to Web 3. So like I used to have a normal profile picture, and then this is my first PFP, like Web 3 PFP. Also, I remember like when I was browsing OpenSea, I was looking at like which cool cat I really liked, and I saw the cat with the Dragon Ball sensor, and I used to be a big Dragon Ball fan when I was a kid. So I think that's what I was like. Oh, like I have to buy this, especially because it was green, and green is my favorite color. So I was like, oh, like this kind of like meant for me. So I think that's why yeah, it's very valuable to me right now, and it's probably my favorite one. Also think that just the project is really cool as well. Like I love the founders. Like they host like town halls every week, and every week I'm in a town hall. I'm like, oh, like I'm super bullish on this project. So yeah, I think Cool Cats is probably my number one.
What in particular of the town halls, or what do they do that makes you so excited?
Honestly, I think it's just a vibe, I guess. It's just like very inclusive, very like family friendly, very nice to people, even like, yeah, like I don't know. I think it's just a vibe that I really like, and I feel a part of the community every time I come. And also like they are announcing really cool things coming up, so I guess that gets me excited as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so it's fascinating how we can feel so connected to these projects and connected to the ecosystem as a whole. And it leads me to ask, where are we going with this connection? How is this connection going to become more part of the physical world? And does that even matter?
So actually, could I interrupt you and ask you your
Please.
question? Well, what's your favorite NFT?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, well, my favorite's the intuitive iguana, because that's how I got into the V Friends ecosystem, the NFT ecosystem, and really made me say, like, what is going on here? And it forced me to ask a bunch of questions. So yeah, and I'm excited to take that into the physical world and the physical experience of VCon in May of 2022.
Yeah, I think to answer your question, Danny, I'm not sure it does matter, because I think as I've like started to develop more ideas and theses here about the NFTs and where we're going, I think you're just going to have like a natural mix of physical and metaverse stuff. And as much as I've pushed myself out of participating actively in metaverse things, like we chatted a bit about me watching my nephews at Thanksgiving and stuff. Just love it and enjoy it. And I just think, that's where you're going to find the connection of these things and the continuation of that connection, right? It's like you may be connected to it right now as a profile picture project, but a lot of these other things you're going to find connection to, and you're going to be able to utilize them in some way. And whether that be through physical events, like in the case of, the Intuitive Iguana and VFriends, or whether that be through, maintaining anonymity and, doing it in the metaverse, like either way, like there's optionality here for these organizations or collections or projects or teams to implement a whole host of stuff to generate massive opportunities for, engaging with their IP. And, like Alex, like if there's an update sometime soon where you get a 3D voxel, or, not even a 3D voxel, but like a cool cat to use in the metaverse, like, I mean, you'd probably consider using your cool cat as your metaverse persona. No, I mean, there are ways that these connections are going to extend beyond the bounds of profile picture. And that's where, like, when you think about, not to shill subducts, but like you think about subducts and all the stuff that Frankie Nines and them have been adding, Cool Cats have done the same thing and are going to continue to do the same thing. And Bored Apes, same thing, right? They're truly building this IP in a way that is not narrowly focused. Like they're swinging for the fence here with tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff that is going to have just so many outs to inclusion and so many outs for people to be connected to that brand. Like think about, we use that analogy of like, think about Disney coming to the metaverse, but think about all the IP that Disney owns or any of those other organizations own, and how many people that can bring in and allow for attachment to different identities and different characters and different, whatever. You could be Lion King or Hercules or whatever the hell else, So I think there's just going to be so many options to connect, whether it be physical or digital. All these companies are like really crazily good positioned, I think, to succeed one way or the other.
Yeah, and one way in which the physical and digital will connect will be through brands coming in. And when you think of your favorite brand and go to your favorite brand store, there'll probably be some NFT component as well to it. And that leads me to ask about Bojangles coming into the metaverse and coming into the NFT scene. Here's the NFT collection that Chicken Supreme lovers don't want to miss. What is your guys' thoughts on Bojangles coming into the metaverse?
I've never even had Bojangles. Have you had Bojangles? Anybody?
I've never, no, but
So.
it's a very well-loved brand, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, didn't McDonald's do the McRib NFT, and that didn't really go over too well, I don't think.
This has some
brand
utility.
is going to do it well, right? Like some brand is going to hit.
Free Chicken Supremes for a year.
See, that's the way.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
The type of
That's
utility
really
we're looking for.
It's on Rareable too.
And this is a 1-of-1 auction, or 7 1-of-1s.
Yeah, our friend Tyler Close from Know Your Horses was bidding. He told me this morning. I'm not sure if I should have said that. I might have just doxed the wallet, but
I mean, how much
tweeted
do you
about
this will
it,
go
so.
for?
Oh, did he tweet about it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
We're safe then.
Over 3 ETH.
Well, what's the cost of
free chicken for a year?
Yeah, so it's got to be more than 3, right?
Is that like just the sandwich? I don't really know what a Chicken Supreme. I'm assuming it's just like a sandwich, right?
Cost of Chicken Supreme.
It's probably $3-4.
$5.
Yeah. Say you do it 100 times in a year.
Yep.
That's only $500. Right. That's actually not even that much.
But it sounds like a lot. That's the crazy thing.
I mean, you're not gonna get 365 of those though, right?
But
Someone is.
You don't have to eat it every day.
Just
You could give it away or sell it. What's the resale value of a chicken supreme?
Well, yeah,
less
I don't
than
know.
$5.
The cool thing here, you want to talk about optionality, Danny, right? In ways that people
That's
can
funny.
be connected to this in the future is like Bojangles may offer this now for this year, but they can verify who owns the token beyond. It's digital. It's not going to erode. Nothing's wrong with it, right? So in a year from now, they can add some other utility on top of this token, and whoever has it has it. That's awesome. That's freaking sweet, dude. You can't do that with plush toys. You know what I mean? Like, imagine you spent all your hard-earned cash at Disney, whatever, Disney World, Disneyland, on a freaking Mickey Mouse plush toy, and that plush toy just eroded to dust. Your dog chewed it, like all that stuff, and then it's gone. And then you, as a holder or as an active participant in the Disney ecosystem, no longer can recoup any reward from that. Your days of being excited by your plush toy are numbered. Here, if you stay connected to this brand, they can continue to layer rewards for you forever and forever and forever. And they don't need to, but that's a way that they can keep connected, both from the collector side and the creator side. You can stay connected in a way that's much more permanent, of course, I think.
And when you go on a diet, you can sell it.
Exactly.
Well, you bring this into a Bojangles. There's only 7 of them, right? Like, you're gonna bring this in, you're gonna be like, "Hey, I get a free sandwich," and they're gonna be like, "What are you talking about?"
And that's gonna onboard new users into the world of NFTs.
I want to see that. Like, the first interaction that you actually go claim a sandwich. That'd be funny.
That would be such a good piece of content. Is like a video of the cashier being like, "What are you talking about?"
I mean,
yeah.
Should we bid? No. Okay.
How do you actually prove that it's yours though? Like, how do you? I mean, basically, do you have to
Maybe you get a special QR code that only you have.
Right?
Oh, okay, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's on them to figure out.
Someone was telling me that you could do a signed transaction on MetaMask. Like you connect your wallet or something like that to it.
They can read your public wallet.
Okay.
Right.
But there's only 7 of them, so I don't know. Maybe they just give you a QR code.
Yeah, there's a real need for a company to come in and make it easy to turn NFT into a QR code. That's like $1 billion business or idea, I think, from my perspective. Does that sound crazy to you guys, or does that make sense?
I'm just trying to understand what you're trying to do, because I think it probably already exists.
I think Wallet Connect has that.
Yeah,
but no one uses Wallet Connect.
Well, you're trying to
Coinbase. Hey, Coinbase. Maybe Coinbase will do that with their upcoming marketplace.
Well, doesn't Rainbow's Wallet Connect too, right?
Some of them have that already. I think it's just MetaMask does it.
Yeah. I think, Danny, that's doable now, and will be increasingly easy to do.
Yeah. Well, it's not something that is used on the daily basis, but if you had a restaurant reservation as a QR code, as an NFT that turns into a QR code, or a ticket to an event, right? That seems like such an obvious use case, speaking about real world implications. And it'll be if it's a seamless app or a seamless way of going about it, it could be something that really takes off and we see much more.
Yeah. It's really just connecting your wallet essentially, right?
Yeah. They just need to be able to peer into your wallet, and you have to be able to prove that you own the wallet, which is how you're right. Like Lou was just mentioning, you're signing a transaction that gives people view rights into your wallet. So you say, I own this wallet, they see what's inside. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the topic of Bojangles, though, when are we going to see Wendy's come into the space? When are we going to see Burger King? When are we going to see fast food chains or just more companies in general bring themselves into the ecosystem?
I think they're all thinking about it, and I hope they're biding their time and trying to do it appropriately. We talked about Budweiser the other day. It seems Budweiser, the reviews on the drop and everything have been okay, right? I haven't seen too much FUD regarding the Budweiser stuff. The thing that we were talking about last night that I'm hopeful is that some of these brands maybe look to embrace some of the current mimetic value that's already, latched into and baked into crypto and NFTs in general. That's certainly a way to curry good favor with the NFT community that presently exists, but perhaps not a way to add to the NFT community for those who are not, for their audience that isn't already actively in. That might not be a positive, but I think it's coming. I think everybody's going to be doing it, right? We heard on our Twitter Spaces yesterday, Nicholas Kerwin was talking about thinking of it as a way to generate funds. We've talked about like kind of it as the new IPO. All these businesses are thinking the same thing and understanding that it's a way to gain access to funds to push new things and also connect themselves to people. And think about like these traditional businesses that rely on advertising, right, and knowing their demographic. Like what better way to know your demographic than have insight into exactly every purchase they've made ever with the blockchain, which is potentially scary, I guess, for some people, but it's part of it. You know what I mean? They're going to be able to see your entire wallet transaction history, see which projects you've bought, see which other brands you've, engaged with. Like that's going to be a future, right? Danny, we're going to know that you bought all the freaking Gary Vee books on the blockchain, and then you're going to get, all the ads for Gary Vee books and, all that stuff, and get like Gary Vee. And then all the people that are trying to be Gary Vee will send NFTs to your wallet because they saw that you're holding Gary Vee NFTs. I think it's inevitable. It's just going to take time to get there.
Yeah. And in the Web 2 world already, it's interesting how this plays out with Instagram. I get so many messages every day on DMs that say, hey, I saw you follow Gary Vee and this and that, and try to show me a project or show me something. And it's like spam messages. But yeah, it's interesting how we're already there in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the hard part about this entire thing is like, this was an issue with email, right? Because how easy it was to send spam email for free. And then there were updates to the technology that, made it more difficult and more costly to send spam email. Well, right now, sending spam NFTs on Ethereum is super costly, so people don't do it, right? So that's good, but people can take advantage of Polygon and send you a bunch of random bullshit for basically free. And like, so we're seeing the exact same manifestation of the whole spam email issue with like layer 2 blockchains or side chains, right? We'll see. I don't know that you can ever really get around that. That's just part of the technology. So we'll see what happens there, but kind of interesting thing to keep our eye on.
Yeah. And it was funny seeing OpenSea react to that. And, back in the day, 4 months ago, any NFT that was sent to you showed up in your public wallet, but then they decided to hide it because they didn't want the spam to show up in your wallet, your public wallet. And so it's just interesting how different pieces move. And similar to what you're saying, it's like history repeats itself over and over. I want to talk about this thread I sent you guys, which was about the house money effect. And let me share it. Hopefully the sharing works here. Still on Bojangles over here, but yeah, the house money effect. It's an interesting thread, an interesting take that seemed to garner a lot of attention. And we'll post it in the chat if you guys want to click it and see it. But we got I read through it and I was like, this is really interesting. And the basic idea here was that high stakes poker went through this period of time in 2003 to 6 where it was really easy to make money. It was really easy to play. And if you had any bit of skill, you would make money. And it warped the perception of those who were in the game. And I guess speaking about history repeating itself, this guy or gal took this idea and said, seems to be exactly what's happening with the NFT movement. So did you guys read through this thread? Was this a bearish sign for you guys? What is your perspective on the house money effect?
This is something I've talked with Jack Settlement about a decent amount. We talked about it on they have the Club Top Shot on Tuesday. They did a Twitter Spaces, and we talked about this a little. And this is actually one of my theories for apes not flipping punks, at least not in short term, because I think a lot of people that are in apes are versus punks. Like people that are in punks are crypto native. They don't necessarily need 60 Ethereum like someone that has a Bored Ape might. So I think when it comes down to it, like a lot of the people that have Bored Apes as avatars, my current theory is that there are a lot of people that minted them or have been holding them for a long time and they're attached to it in that sense. Like these celebrities that are buying in because it's like the cool hot thing to do right now. They don't necessarily need the money as much, but a lot of people that are buying into projects they're taking their winnings from one and putting it into the next one. And it's harder to get new people onboarded now that it's a higher entry point. And people that are in there, like I even fall to this. We've talked about it before, like thinking in terms of Ethereum versus USD. Like I in a sense have that house money effect because I think in terms of Ethereum. Like for me, if I see 0.03 for a gas fee, that's what I'm looking at, and it's always 0.03 to me. But to other people who are just buying their first NFT, that's a couple $100, and depending on the day, like when Ethereum's almost 5K the other day, like someone's looking at that like, oh, I have to pay $200 just for one transaction. Whereas me, I'm like, oh, I have the 0.03 to pay for that. So
And is that the house money effect? Taking
because I maybe when I like first few days, first weeks doing it, I had that same idea. But now that I like had a little more buffer from the house money effect, like the likelihood of me to buy into, say, like Clonex, it happened to me for Clonex. I wouldn't have bought a Clonex in June, but the house money effect of now you have a little more money that you can spend and take the risks like that.
it's interesting.
Yeah, I think this is naturally going to occur if it's not already, or however you'd like to characterize its current status in the NFT ecosystem. I did like that the bottom of this thread starts to get into more of like the potential emotional and or mental toll that it takes on these folks as well. I think it's essentially going to play itself out in a similar manner. Yeah, and Lou, actually, I know you're talking about like older people being in the space versus some of these newer. I actually think it's more likely to occur with some of the newer people who have seen the crazy gains, because like they came in with $0 and like spent $200 on an ape and now have hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you want to recreate that feeling.
But do they have that? It's not realized yet. Like it.
Well, I mean,
the way I think of it is if apes start going back down and hit 30, 20 Ethereum, the people that own apes are more likely to sell. And I think the downward effect will be faster with them because those are people that $100,000 means a lot more to than someone that's been a punk owner who's like, this is the first NFT, like is living by that fact and has always been like. Now if that goes to 30 Ethereum, they're probably more likely to start buying more punks because they're like, this is going back up to 100. That's, I guess, my thought process of it.
So I'm not really getting that from this thread though, because like I'm thinking about it as if, as in
they're sitting on an ape because they've had the ape. They wouldn't have bought the ape at 30 Ethereum. So they're using their house money as leveraging the fact that they have ape. And they're getting the rewards of they have if they sold the dog, if they're getting the ape coin, they didn't buy in at 30 Ethereum. They bought in lower and they're riding the wave up from the house money.
Yeah. So I'm interpreting this differently. Are you, Danny?
No. So on that point, Nat Eliason talks about a really interesting thing that stuck with me, which his question to ask whether to sell something is, would I buy it at this price? If no, then I'll sell it. And I thought that was such a fascinating thing. And it stuck with me for so long because otherwise you can get caught up in the house money of believing you're playing with house money because you bought something at 1 and now it's 50. And you're like, holy smokes, like, but would you buy it at 50 is the question. And if the answer is no, then should you sell it? And that stuck with me.
Yeah, I think though I just shared my screen real quick. The house money effect we're talking about, theory used to explain the tendency of investors to take on a much greater risk profile when reinvesting profit earned. So what I'm suggesting here is that the profit earned that these people have made, either whether they've bought an ape or whatever the hell the case they may be, they are more likely to chase those profits. Basically, they want to recreate that feeling. And so I think it's more likely that it's going to happen with these people that are newer to the space that have been able to take 0 to 600,000 or whatever. And it's not really about how much did you make. It's all relative. It's more or less like if you profited, you are more likely to be more risky. That's what the house money effect is saying from there. So like if you made a bunch of money, you're more likely to try to make a bunch of money again. And that's where you can get reckless. And that's where you can get crippled. If you get to the end of that thread, it talks about the people that were at the top of the poker game that got crippled both financially and emotionally as the game got more efficient and the game got better. And so that's what we were talking about yesterday too, right? On the spaces, which is where it's so early. Everybody's a genius in the bull market, right? That adage. Some of these people are going to get wrecked because they were just lucky to be in the right place in the right spot. And I'm not even going to exclude myself from that. Who knows if I'm a good NFT trader or not? You know what I mean? More data, more information as the market matures and isn't just up only. That's going to be the real tell as to whether or not these things or these people are good traders or good actors or whatever the case may be. And so I think you're going to see it. You're definitely going to see it. And it's already happening. And I think most people, we've talked about this, but I think like a lot of Bored Ape holders, if they chase like this, are going to end up in not so great standings.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I guess I have 2 points on that. One is that's why I think the downward effect could be a lot, because a lot of people that have their Bored Ape, that's like in the back of their pocket. Like if I ever need to, I could sell this for $100,000. But I also think I agree with you where like they're more likely to take a risk because that's in the back of their pocket. And I'm going to also take the time right now to remind people to make sure you take some profit off the top and don't leave everything that you own in NFTs and crypto, because at some point in time, I mean, that could switch. Like even today, a lot of the markets are down. So just make sure to not be over invested on things just because you have one thing that's like currently marketed as a high value item.
Yeah, I think what's dangerous is that like a lot of us are super new to the NFT space. So we're all, again, like we've been in a super huge bull market and we've never really experienced a really bad bear market. And I remember a tweet specifically from Farouk, who's like pretty big in this space. And he's like, oh, like, I don't think we're going to see a bear market in the NFTs. And I think it was Deez that replied like, oh, like, not going to make it or something like that. Just because like, I mean, I agree. Like, I'm also like, oh, like, I wonder what it's like to be in a bear market and, actually see my cool cat who's like, worth 7 ETH go back to like 0. Like, that would be crazy, especially for people that are not used to it. And again, like, it does take a toll mentally to see all of your money just come crashing down. So I agree with Lou. Like, I mean, I'm also guilty of this, of like, I'm holding way too many bags in like my NFTs right now. And like, you probably should take some profit whenever you can.
Yeah, it's wild. And I think the mental health aspect of it is really important and mentioned in this thread. And another video that stuck with me was from Gary Vee talking about the person who's at the Thanksgiving table in 2021. NFTs are the cool thing. NFTs are what people are talking about. But then in 2023, they come back to that table and NFTs aren't the cool thing anymore. and their parents and the people around them are saying, this is a scam. This is like, what is wrong with you? You invested all this money, and then really getting upset at themselves and falling into depression. And so even though you're right about the technology being revolutionary, it could go incredibly poorly in the short term of 2 years or 3 years or 5, whatever it is. And then in 10 years be correct long term. So
yeah, I think this is a good point to introduce the Gartner hype cycle as like a way for folks to. I mean, you've probably seen these charts. I know not everybody apparently knows who Gartner is. We had this talk at Lucky Trader here just a bit ago. I'll share my screen again. Like, this is it, right? Like, you've seen these before. We are, well, at least it feels like we are, because we're in the echo chambers of NFT ecosystem, but we feel like we're up on this, top peak, right? And things will, in terms of the hype of the technology, it doesn't mean the technology goes away, but in terms of the hype of the technology and how frequently it's being discussed and what the market does, it's like bound to slow, right? And then you eventually reach like a plateau of productivity where like we don't even recognize that we're interacting with NFTs every single day because it's just a part of it every single day. But again, that doesn't mean that it's bad or that it's not doing well or that it's, not hugely part of our day. It just means that we've come to embrace it. We're expecting it, those types of things. So, yeah, I fully expect that to be the case. Whether that's next year, Danny, or the year after, or whenever. It could be Christmas dinner, right?
Yeah.
In a month that we're already at that point where like nobody cares to talk about it. If we see like a horrendous bear market for the next 3 weeks, nobody's gonna want to talk about it. And yeah, all your family and friends will be like, "See, you stupid idiot," and that's where like you just need to basically stay engaged in some way. I've been working on this piece for so long called being medium bored, but like just keep your toe like dipped in the water. Like don't forget about NFTs because that's the trouble is like you forget and then you completely disengage and then a new market comes, right? A new bull market comes and you're like, oh shit, that happened earlier this year for a whole lot of folks where there was like a bear and then
in May, right?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Right. Then you just disengage, right? You just disengage because you're like, oh shit, like, man. It's like, well, zoom out a little bit. Maybe, you don't need to spend 100% of your time or focus on NFTs, but you should maybe keep 5% of your time there or 10% of your time there, or at least like just subscribe to the Lucky Trader newsletter at luckytrader.com so that you like from time to time check your email inbox and, and see those notes about NFTs. Just don't forget about it. So the way I like to think about it, the way that I'm trying to position myself, of course, not with NFTs because I plan on being 100% engaged there. But with other things is like, I want to keep myself, when things get bad, I want to keep myself medium bored. I want to like stay somewhat attached. I want to know just a little bit, enough to not miss things,
Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, go for it, Alex.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, to add on to that, I was just about to say, like, I think that's why it's important too to like if you're interested in NFTs and crypto as a whole, like there's so much more that you can do apart from NFTs as well. And usually when there's like a bear market in NFTs, you can like do DeFi, you can work in a DAO or like just be constantly in the space, and there's always something to do, even though there might be a bear market somewhere. And even if there's just like a giant bear market because maybe ETH crashes or Bitcoin crashes, there's always going to be something to learn about. So yeah, just like try to dip your toes into a lot of things if you're interested about the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I think about this in terms of what can we look at in the past that's kind of related. And for me, the first thing that pops out is Bitcoin, where in 2013 you had this huge Bitcoin bull run, and then for another 3 years it did nothing, relatively speaking, and then in 2017 you see it again, and then you see this bear market for Bitcoin for 3 years, and then all of a sudden it spikes up again. And so I don't know if NFTs will follow the same trajectory, but it just shows what is possible to occur. And if you were staying in touch with the Bitcoin ecosystem in that time, just 5-10%, you'd be aware of what's going on. And so I think that's a great point by Logie.
Yeah. And you don't even need to necessarily stay aware in terms of like following or tracking NFT Twitter or news or whatever, but like you can keep yourself invested as well. Like, we've talked about 100 different ways you can do that. Alex has been working on DeFi content, right? But there are things like token sets where you could buy like metaverse coin, an index of metaverses, and then you don't even have to pay attention, but maybe you set aside like $20 a week to buy this metaverse coin. You totally forget about it. Like you don't need to pay attention, but you totally forget about it. So that's what I mean when I say medium board. It's like stay minimally involved to the best of your ability, but don't remove yourself from the game. Keep playing the game. Like, I don't know if you guys listen to Up Only, but Kobe like talks about, in a lot of these like experienced traders in like a super volatile industry that crypto is, it's like the way that you succeed is by keep playing. And so like, so long as you survive each market, you're going to make it. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by medium board is like, don't cut yourself off. Like, of course there's millions of other reasons not to like, don't trade on leverage, like all those other things, right? That can get you out of the game. But if you're doing things, in a way that's within your boundaries, the only way that you can not make it is by just completely stop playing the game. So
you gotta have time in the market in order to survive, in order to thrive. So
yeah, I mean, this is it, right? Being here might be enough for all of us to make it. Yeah.
It's facts.
Still early, right? Hashtag WGMI.
Exactly. Well, I think this was really enjoyable. I had a great time, and I'm curious, any closing thoughts from the people, from any one of you guys before we go to a close?
No, we'll be back next week with all the stuff. Monday morning, looking at the week ahead in NFTs, and then all the typical stuff that comes from Lucky Trader. Thanks everyone for being here, commenting, engaging. We'll have a couple pieces actually from both Lou and Alex dropping on the site soon, whether today or early Monday. About Alex is working on a DeFi piece in particular with some how-tos on using Uniswap if you've never used a decentralized exchange. And Lou has some continuation on the Solana conversation with intro guide to Phantom, the most popular Solana wallet as well. So I know a lot of folks that are new to this are looking to evade the gas fees on Ethereum. Solana, of course, one of those most notable alternatives. So more stuff to come. And of course, appreciate your feedback and everything. Look forward to communicating on Monday.
Yes, sir. Anything from anyone else?
I think to harp on something Alex said is don't be afraid to dip your toes into other things like DeFi and other non-ETH mainnet type of projects, because I think right now like ETH is hot, but at the end of the day, like something we've been talking about is like PFPs aren't where the long term of NFTs are. And I think things like DeFi are, things like games, trying to get into different games and other bridge your money onto some of these other Avalanche is pretty big right now. Solana that we talked about. So just trying to learn every day basically is what I try to do. And so just see what else is out there.
A constant ethos of learning from Big Lou. I love it. Alex, final thoughts before we go to a close?
None really. I think everybody said enough. I'm good.
Okay, cool. Well, appreciate all of you guys watching. Appreciate all of you guys for being here. It's been a pleasure as always. And we will see you in the next stream on Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Peace.